Greetings, viewers of YouTube. Has 2020 got you down? Has recent events made the world seem like it's on fire? Well, don't despair, for there's a cure for this hopelessness, and it's called Netflix. But not just any Netflix show, no. There's only one cure for the soul, that is, wholesome cartoons. Alright, I'll end the cringe fest here. Hey YouTube, Red Quill here, and back for another video. So basically, I was feeling down and felt like I needed something to lift my spirits and pick me up. So I was browsing Netflix and heard about this show called The Dragon Prince. And watched the whole thing in 3 days, and I really wanted to talk about it. So for the impatient among you and want me just get straight to the point, I'll summarize this whole video in one sentence. If you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll love Netflix's The Dragon Prince. It's made by some of the same creative team, and if that's all you need to hear, then feel free to stop the video and go watch it. You will not hurt my feelings. However, if anyone is still watching, I'll go into more detail on why this show's so good, but there will be semi-minor spoilers, so be warned. Alright, to go into some of the details on why I like the show, I kind of need to give some background info, and this is going to be kind of lore dense, so I promise in the actual TV show they do a better job. Just keep in mind, I'm just a guy who watches Netflix and enjoyed the show, so I'll try to summarize it as painlessly as possible. Alright, so long ago in a fantasy land called Zadia, humans were chastised by all other fantasy races for their use of dark magic. Ooh. Why use dark magic? Well, humans are the only race not born with magic abilities, putting them at a disadvantage and are seen as lesser beings. But dark magic closes the gap, making them on par with everyone else. So, why does everyone else hate it? Well, it requires using the life force of other magical creatures. So this is seen as being immoral, especially if you are the magical creature getting yeeted. So, magic races tell humans stop using dark magic, humans say nah. So, magic races push humans off of the whole eastern half of the continent, shoving all humans to the west side. On the two sides of the continent are blocked by giant mountains and rivers of lava and guarded by the King of Dragons, called Thunder. Things stay this way for centuries. However, just before the start of the story, the Dragon King was killed by humans, and his egg is also believed to be destroyed. So, the elves, not being very happy about the humans killing the guardian of the border, decide to retaliate and assassinate the king and his firstborn son. And thus starts the story. You got two human princes, Callum and Ezran, who run into one of the elven assassins, Rayla. Shenanigans ensues. Rayla is about to kill them, but surprise, they find the dragon egg. The unlikely trio decide to work together to try and bring the egg back to the east side of Zadia, hoping that the return of the Dragon King's egg will end the cycle of violence. But of course, you have people who are not okay with the plan. Namely, the king's advisor, Viren, who was directly responsible for killing the Dragon King Thunder to begin with, and who sees basically all of the fantasy races as a direct threat to humanity. So, the story continues. You have a king who dies, sorry Harrow, Viren trying to rally humanity to attack Zadia, and Viren's children, Claudia and Soren, tasked with retrieving the dragon egg and finding the princes to return them safely home unless some accidents were to happen and Viren was crowned king. That's a whole nother side plot. So, assuming I did a decent job on the summary and that people roughly understand what the story's about, aka children going on an adventure, trying to bring peace to the world, but bad guys don't want them to, you might be asking, so what actually makes this story stand apart? And well, it's not actually the plot itself that I think really makes this a great show, but rather the characters, the bonds they form, and the social issues they face. Often, when you have a story with a young cast going on an adventure, the parents are either unseen and quite possibly dead and have little impact in the story. This is not the case for the Dragon Prince. Nearly every major young cast member has a uniquely challenging relationship with either their blood relatives or those who they deem as a parental figure. For example, Viren and his children have a very manipulative and unhealthy relationship. Soren, Viren's son, while physically strong, is definitely an oaf and has very little intelligence, which is a huge contrast to Viren, who has the ability to come up with great schemes and is conniving. Viren uses Soren's desire to please his dad and low intelligence to his advantage, asking Soren to do unconscionable things, and Soren having to really struggle with his conscience on whether or not he should carry out Viren's actions. Claudia, on the other hand, has fallen into Viren's palm for other reasons. She is still distraught at her and Soren's mother's abandonment years ago. Their mother left without a word, other than just telling Claudia to stay with Viren and Soren. So now Claudia, distraught with her mother's disappearance, now stays with Viren and is trying to constantly keep the family together. And with that in mind, does basically anything Viren requests. However, family relationships can still be very complicated even when the parent isn't present, as seen with Rayla, the elf assassin. Her parents have been accused of abandoning the Dragon King during his death, and haven't been seen since. So Rayla, believing that her parents have fled, is desperate to try and redeem her family name. At the start of the story, the only way Rayla thought she could atone for her parents' failure was to act as an assassin to help kill the king responsible. However, when she sees that the egg is still alive, she agrees to work with Callum and Ezren, believing that by returning the egg, she's helped to redeem her parents' failure. However, as the story goes on, she still struggles with her feelings on what her parents did. As the world building continues, you learn that most of the fantasy races view humans as an inferior species, due to not being born with their own magic, or as this show calls it, arcanum, and for their use of dark magic as a substitute, which requires sacrificing the life of another magical creature to perform. But from the humans' perspective, they've been cast out of their ancestral home, and dark magic itself has become a necessary evil that allows them to prosper even in harsh times. As more and more episodes come out, you start to see why both sides think the way they do, and realize that the world they live in is nearly as complicated as our own, and resolving the struggles between the two sides will not be easy. Okay, heavy spoilers here. If you don't want to be spoiled on relationships in the story, aka shipping wars, skip to the timestamp posted below. Alright, all those gone? Awesome. So, in the first two seasons, you've got two young, strapping lads, Callum and Rayla. And, slowly but surely, they get to know each other and things blossom. And honestly, this was actually really cute to watch over time. I thought it was paced well. Each season's 9 episodes long, and by the third season, they actually decide to get into a relationship. They have a really awkward demeanor with each other, but that just makes it more wholesome and hilarious to me. But anyway, the main point I want to get across here, though, is this show is supposed to eventually have 7 seasons, unless Netflix cancels it. And we're only on season 3, and they've already actually formed a relationship. I think this is pretty awesome because it allows the show to actually develop them as characters and have them grow together. Because in most of the shows I've seen, everyone just kind of hooks up last episode, and and that's about it, honestly. So this is kind of a first, and as far as I know, at least from the shows I've watched, where two MCs actually form a relationship this early. So I'm curious to see where they go with it. Yeah, that's all I got for this one. But if you like a good ship, I highly recommend the Raylan boat. Alright, now I'm going to get into some of the production value aspects of the show. I like to draw, so I like to focus on these, artistic side of things. So for animation, as you've probably noticed, the animation is all done in lovely 3D. And while I won't say it's phenomenal, I actually think it does the job pretty well. The character models are expressive. The designs, I think, highlight each character's personality, where at a glance you can kind of guess what the character might be like. The action scenes are pretty fluid, and the backgrounds are gorgeous. They honestly kind of look like paintings to me. So, voice acting. Honestly, I really can't think of anyone being a bad voice actor. Most are just fine. But there are a few standout performances, namely Daddy Eravos.
How long I've waited to hear the sound of another voice. How may I serve you?
God damn, that voice is rich. So, another major highlight of the show for me is that soundtrack. My god, it's beautiful. The soundtrack is by Frederick Wedman. I'm probably budging that, but I'm just going to leave this. Wedman. Anyway. So the soundtrack by Fred is one of the most beautiful scores of music I've heard in a long time. It's been over a week since I finished the show, and I'm still listening to the music. I have put in the description of the video a few links to my favorite songs from the score. By the way, the entire soundtrack for all seasons can be found on Spotify on Fred's artist page. So that's all I have to say about the series. There's a ton I've left out, ton of subplots, ton of characters, but I think you just need to go watch it. And if what I said hasn't convinced you, I don't know what will. So that's all I have to say about the series. There's plenty of things I left out, tons of characters, subplots, but I think at this point I've spoiled enough. So go watch it and be like me, desperately waiting for season 4's release date. And if you do end up finishing the series, there's actually a pretty awesome fandom forming on YouTube. So go watch Sir Snuggles' YouTube channel. I thought his meme compilations and his summaries are pretty funny. So go check him out. I'll also leave links to him in the description. Sorry for the long-winded video. I really don't plan on doing too many like this, but whenever I fall in love with something, I do just want to share it with people. So for the next video, I'll go back to making webcomic updates, but until then, have a great one! And for anyone who's actually seen my other videos and wondering why I have way more energy in this one, it's because I'm usually recording audio at about 6 in the morning, my time, and that's because I live with roommates, and I try not to read my scripts while they're awake, as I'm pretty self-conscious on these kind of things. But they all went out for the weekend, so I can talk as loud as I want, and with as much energy as I want, and it's not 6 in the morning. So, just fun fact. Again, that's all. Have a great one.